So in today's video, let's examine a slightly delicate topic. I say delicate because some may strongly disagree with me, but I'm going to tackle the topic of why are there so few truly great British classical composers? And if you do disagree with anything I'm saying, please do let me know in the comments so I can further my own understanding and knowledge, and I appreciate it. So why hasn't Great Britain produced truly great composers? There could be many different reasons, and I'm sure that scholarly musicologist studies have been done on this topic, and perhaps you have some insight you can share with me in the comments as well. But here are some reasons I could come up with. The premature death of Henry Purcell. Had Purcell lived longer, perhaps the British tradition of composition would have been more rooted and established, and he would have produced children of his own, so to speak, in the composing world, or descendants in the composing world. Some would say, rather sarcastically, that the British were too busy fighting all the wars in their massive empire to have any time for composition. Some British composers were not truly British, so Handel, German, Johann Christian Bach, German, Gustav Holst, German. Well, actually, he was born here, so maybe he should qualify as a British composer. But with a name like Gustav, you can see where his heritage came from. Charles Gounod didn't finish his years here, he returned to France. And in any case, our composers here were completely outclassed by the German composers, unless of course they were German themselves, like Handel. Could it be the British stiff upper lip and reservedness that is an impediment to us composing truly great works that could compete with the German composers or the French or the Italian? Let me know your thoughts as well, please. We do have some composers here, at least a few. Let's go through some of those. The early ones: Thomas Tallis, William Byrd, Henry Purcell are three that spring to mind. Maybe, who knows, even Henry VIII dabbled a bit. Did he perhaps compose Greensleeves? Maybe not, but some say he did. Two of the British composers who I would say are truly great, on a par with any of the other great composers. The two that I say are truly great composers. This is just my opinion, okay? So I might be wrong here. But they are Elgar. For me, he's the greatest of our composers. And closely followed by Gustav Holst. For me, The Planets is such an amazing composition. It's so way ahead of its time. It's a bit like H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. You can plonk it in 2001, A Space Odyssey, and it just works. It just captures that feeling of space and the universe. So to me, that's just an incredible, magical composition. So that's why I would include him as a truly great composer. Some others of interest: Benjamin Britten, Ralph Vaughan Williams. So his great piece for violinists, because I'm a little bit slanted towards violin compositions, of course. His great piece is the Lark Ascending. You either like it or you don't. I'm lukewarm on that piece. I think it's okay in the hands of a good violinist. You might disagree with me. You might think it's a fantastic violin composition. Let me know what you think. Samuel Coleridge Taylor, William Walton. Now, I single him out because he actually composed a violin concerto for Jascha Heifetz, which is a pretty good concerto, actually, modern piece of music. And Walton, of course, also wrote some film scores, which is a kind of a different milieu, a different genre. But in the 40s is still pretty much classical composition. Have I forgotten any, do you think, important ones that I've missed out? Let me know. Then later, of course, we have Brian Eno, Andrew Lloyd Webber, moving slightly out into more popular genre. The Great British Invasion of the 60s, which undoubtedly, in terms of popular music and rock, that's on a whole different level. The British influence has been massive with bands like the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, the Stones, Pink Floyd, The Who. But here, of course, we're talking about classical composition primarily. So here's an interesting exercise. Which nation, in your opinion, produced the best composers? I've worked out a list of my top 10. Again, let me know your thoughts. Number 1, Germany, with Bach, Beethoven, Brahms and Mendelssohn, to name but a few. Number 2, Austria, mostly because of Mozart, but we could also mention Bruckner, Haydn and Mahler. Number 3, Italy, with Monteverdi, Vivaldi, Corelli, Paganini, and its opera stars such as Puccini, Verdi and Rossini. Number 4, France, Saint-Saëns, Lalo, Bizet, Rameau, Chopin, although there's an overlap with Polish there as well. Chausson, Ravel, Debussy, the list goes on. Passionate music as well. Number 5, Spain, as a violinist. That's why I've put it at number 5, really, for that reason only. Sarasate, De Falla, Albéniz, Granados, Tárrega, got guitar works that have been transcribed for violin. I just love the music, so it has to be at number 5. Number 6, Poland, Finland and Russia. The reason I'm grouping these together is because there's a common sphere of influence. For example, Sibelius was schooled, I think it's schooled in Russia, or strongly influenced by the Russian school. So I'm putting that at number 6 with Tchaikovsky, Chopin, Vinyavsky, Glazunov, Rimsky, Korsakov, Sibelius, Shostakovich, Rachmaninoff, Stravinsky, to name a few. I'm actually putting England at number 7 on the list. The reason for that, it's because of Elgar and also helped greatly by migrants such as Handel. Number 8, Belgium with Ysaÿe, Franck and Vieuxtemps. Number 9, the USA. Now arguably this one could be higher up the list depending on your taste. It could be number 7 instead of England. Because reeling off some of these names, Dvorak, who spent time there, Scott Joplin, Samuel Barber, Korngold, Gershwin, Cage, Copland, Percy Grainger, Louis Gruenberg, and then we have the offshoot of jazz, which is classical and blues combined. If you're considering that, then America is number 1, of course. Gershwin there is classical music with a jazz veneer. There's so much melting pot stuff happening there. Anyway, I've put it at number 9. Number 10, Scandinavia with Grieg and Sibelius. Again, Sibelius, a bit of crossover with the Russian school. But there are other countries, of course, Romania, Hungary and Czech. Let me know what you think. How would you order your list of top 10 countries that produce the best composers? What about the actual best composers as individuals? So here's my list of the top 10 composers ever. Number 1, Germany, Beethoven. Number 2, Austria, Mozart. Number 3, Germany, Bach. Number 4, Italy, Vivaldi. Number 5, Russia, Tchaikovsky. Number 6, Germany, Brahms. Number 7, Germany, Mendelssohn. Number 8, Italy, Paganini. Number 9, Spain, Sarasate. And you know what? I'm gonna squeeze England in there at number 10 with Elgar. Elgar is, in my opinion, our best ever composer. I feel bad for leaving France out because really France could be in there. And maybe I should have put France instead of Mendelssohn at number 7. To include the likes of Saint-Saëns, Debussy, Ravel. The reason I put Mendelssohn is because he was so instrumental at the Leipzig school in rediscovering the works of Bach, who is at number 3, but whose works were largely forgotten for 100 years, even though Bach's sons were instrumental in the development of sonata form. Bach was a visionary, a mathematical composer, but deeply spiritual, and not just organ and piano or harpsichord, but also violin, let's not forget he was a violinist too, and composed for violin. He composed for violin as if it was an organ with all the chords. Way ahead of his time, but forgotten until Mendelssohn resurrected his works at the Leipzig school, but massively important. Some would say would put Bach at higher, number 2 or number 1. The thing is that, you know, certain things weren't developed in Bach's day, like vibrato. And for me, the Romantic period is my favourite period. And Beethoven is the hinge or the pivot into the Romantic. He increased the size of the orchestra. And for me, he's the number 1. Although I have actually met one classical music lover in my life who hates Beethoven, but that makes no logical sense to me. It's as bad as a jazz aficionado hating Miles Davis. Rather stupid. Here's some pictures of Holst's house, which I had the privilege of visiting in Cheltenham.
Greetings. Teddy and I are in Cheltenham today. We're here in Cheltenham. Now, the British are not super well known for their composers. Of course, we had Elgar, who was amazing, and some composers that people would say, well, they were actually German, like Handel and Holst. Well, you could say that Holst is British because he was born here. So Gustav Holst is one of our great British composers. He's the composer of Planets. So while we're here, I thought we'll go and check out the house where he was born.
So, why are the British rubbish at composing? Let me know your thoughts, or let me know if you disagree. Overall, we're pretty good, given the circumstances. We've not done too bad. We're just not on the level of Germany, France, Italy, or even Russia. Ciao for now.